I want to show you today how QuickBooks Online Advanced is going to blow away what you think you know about QuickBooks Online, and we're going to go through some neat features that you don't really get in desktop either. There are still reasons to go with desktop over online, which is why I like to talk to everyone one-on-one, understand what your needs are and what you're looking for out of your QuickBooks software. With all that being said, let's go ahead and get started. So if you see here, you're going to see some screens that maybe you won't see as a business. The month-end review and overview are account-specific screens, but here the dashboard view is something you would see. You can toggle your privacy on and off, so if you're at a desk and you need to turn the privacy on because someone comes in, that's easy to do. You will also notice that just like with QuickBooks Desktop, you can access things using the side navigation, or like say with sales, you can click your overview and you also have top end navigation. Okay, so that's nice. Going back to our dashboard, I know a lot of clients really like dashboards, and in desktop you have the snapshot, and this is very similar to that. You can actually edit your bank account listings so you can see different balances and different orders depending on what you prefer. And this all feeds in from your banking area. So I'm going to go ahead and save that since I've changed it. Your gear in the top right has to do with this, what I would say is a skeleton. We are in October after all. This is going to be how your account is set up, and we'll go through this as part of this tutorial. And just as a warning, it's a little bit of a long one, but I'll go put a table of contents in later. One of the things that you do not get with other versions of QuickBooks Online is your workflows option, and there's several other things as well, but you know what? We'll get to that. You also have a more in-depth preferences section. We're just going to cut over here. So some of this is very similar to what you'll see with the other QuickBooks Online. You have your preferences section where you have your company setup, you have your billing and subscription, you have your usage, and then you do have usage limits on some versions of QuickBooks Online. You do have a sales section where you can customize the look and feel of your invoice, and you have different features down here as well. I will say that as of the recording of this video, QuickBooks Online does not yet support barcode scanning. So if you're looking for something that has barcode scanning in product, you will definitely want to go with QuickBooks Enterprise with Advanced Inventory. If we're looking for QuickBooks Online and you're looking for complex inventory functions, then typically I will suggest an add-on, and we have a couple different ones in our pocket that we like to go over. Okay, so you can turn on price rules. You can see that this is in beta. It's a feature that's been in desktop for quite a while, and all that is to allow you to provide different pricing and discounts depending on your customer. So let's hit save there. I'm still not a huge fan of the way their late fees work, and I've talked about this in other videos. The late fees in QuickBooks Online apply themselves to the bottom of the original invoice. For me, as a bookkeeper, my preference is to create a new invoice in the month the late fee was for, part of our matching principle, and I like to put my late charges then. If you're cash-based, it probably won't make a lot of difference to you, and it is something that I would expect they change, but for me, I prefer to do my late fees on my own currently because of the way it handles them. Okay? And if you were to use the late fees, you can do a percentage of the remaining balance or a flat fee. Make sure that if you use a percentage or a flat fee, that it doesn't exceed any state limits you have. You have a grace period. What does it appear on the invoice as, and so forth. I'm going to hit cancel because, again, I'm not a huge fan, but there's nothing wrong with that feature per se. I'm just a little bit particular. So progress invoicing, you do have this ability. So I'm going to go ahead and hit save there. You can edit the messages that are sent with your sales form. And you'll notice, I covered this in another video, that with QuickBooks Plus and QuickBooks Essentials and below, if you do reminders for your invoices, they are set up here. Whereas with QuickBooks Online Advanced, we will set those up in our workflows, which we'll cover in a little bit. You can set up BCC accounts, which is great if you have a CRM. Like us, we use Nutshell, so I'm going to BCC my CRM whenever I have one of these pop up. Now I'll hit cancel. Okay. And then here's our invoice reminder emails. Now this is what the email looks like, but this is not actually setting up the reminder. Okay, that's important because you may look at that and think, as I did when it first came out, oh, I can't, the setup is here, but it doesn't tell me how many I can send and so forth. And again, it has to do with workflows. And the cool thing about Online Advanced is that with Plus, you're limited to 3 reminders, whereas with Online Advanced, you can do, I'm sure there is a limit, but I've not run into it. You can do several. Let's just put it that way. Okay, then you have your online delivery. I always attach a PDF and I always put at least a short summary in the email so they know what they're looking at. And then you also have statements. List each transaction. I'm going to be completely honest, I don't use statements that much because what I do is in my online delivery, I put the details of the invoice there, and it will also tell the person, if you have Intuit payments, what their current balance is. So typically our clients will see that and call us if they have a question. Now let's go down to expenses. So with bills and expenses, we do have the items table turned on, which is important. Set our pencil here. Are our expenses and items billable? Yes. Markup with a default rate of blah, blah, blah. For me, when I do a markup, I typically do a minimum of 5% just because you need at least that to cover your merchant services costs if you're using Intuit payments, and for the administration and everything to do the invoice. If you're just doing a flat 0%, that's great, but you're probably going to lose a little bit of money on the reimbursement. Do you want to track billable expenses and items as income? Yes, I always put single account, but again, this is up to you. The reason being, if you do multiple accounts, every time you have a new account to track this in, you have to set that account up and it gets to be very tedious. Meanwhile, if you use a single account, it adds an account billable expense income and they go in, all your revenue for that goes into that account. Do you want to charge sales tax? I'm going to mark yes, okay? Turns on the tax checkbox by default for billable expenses and so forth. This is kind of where it gets into the tax piece. If you have markup of any kind, you really need to talk to your tax preparer about how that should be handled for tax purposes. Sales tax, typically you're looking at use tax. If you're using it yourself, you're looking at sales tax if you're marking it up and giving it to a customer. But again, I suggest talking that over with your tax professional because we do not offer tax advice. Default bill payment terms, you can list that as well. I'm going to put net 15. I kind of have a bad habit of doing due upon receipt because that's how I've always done things. But I did go to a seminar, and there is research out there that says people want to see a date because due upon receipt is ambiguous and they may not know how long they have to pay the bill. Do we want to use purchase orders? Yes. One of the things that is not in QuickBooks Online yet, including QuickBooks Advanced, is the ability to do sales orders. If you have sales orders, you want to use estimates if that's okay. If sales orders are a have to have, then that will probably push you back into desktop, or we will want to look at a third-party billing software. Okay, your invoicing software. Do you want to use custom numbers on your POs? I always use custom numbers on everything because if you have a certain nomenclature that you use, that will be helpful. And now let's move on to messages. Now this is what we use for our purchase orders. I'm going to hit email me a copy and hit save. Okay, now let's hit payments. I have not turned this on yet. If you are interested in QuickBooks Online, and I am putting in the link to get our discount, it's half off the first year in the description. Use it. If you want QuickBooks Payments, which I don't know why you would not want that, and you don't have it yet, reach out to us because we can do a comparison against your current provider or give you some great rates and advice as you move down that process. And all of that is free. If you go with us to do a project, that will be billable, but if you just have questions about which product to go with, we are not going to charge you for that. We like to get to know people and we enjoy our job, so We're kind of kooky that way. So then let's go to Advanced, and I'm going to hit my pencil. What's the first month of your fiscal year? Typically, people are January. There are companies that are different. Sometimes it's wineries and so forth. First month of our income tax year. What's our accounting method? I'm marking accrual. Again, you need to talk to your tax person to see what method he is reporting your taxes on. You can toggle reports back and forth. And do you want to close the books? I always use this feature, and I cannot stress how important it is to use this feature. Please use this feature. Okay, whether you're with desktop or online, use this feature, because if you have done your taxes for 2019, the last thing you need is your new clerk coming in here and posting things and accidentally typoing 2019 and then having to go in the audit trail and figure out where it is and reconciling everything back. I feel very strongly about this. So in any case, use your closing date. You can ask to allow changes after viewing a warning, which is what I do, because if I'm going to go to the trouble of adding a closing date, you bet your bippy I'm not letting anyone change that data without knowing the password. And there's one person that's going to know that password, and guess who it is? It's me. So let's go ahead and cancel. So under our tax form, you'll want to fill this out depending on what tax form you have, and it's very straightforward, and your tax person will know exactly which one it is. Your chart of accounts, I still use account numbers. Some people think that that's old-fashioned, but not me. So I have that turned on because when you get to, well, in the old days, when you used to code a lot at once, it would be nice. You'd get to memorize your account numbers and pop, 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 pop. Anywho, shipping account, discount account, tips account. If you have tips, markup income account, which is typically markup income. Okay, I don't know if I've got that turned on in this file. No, I do not have that account there, but that's what I would use as a markup income account. Billable expense income account. We just talked about this. Okay. And if I'm going kind of fast, I'm pretty sure there's a slowdown version where I'll talk like this, or just go ahead and watch it again. I do have a bad habit of talking fast. I tell my clients, tell me to shut up if I go too fast, but you can't because you're watching a video, but you get to push pause. Track classes, yes. Always warn you when a transaction's not assigned to a class, because what's the point of tracking classes if you're only going to do it half the time? Am I right? Assign classes, one to each row in a transaction or one to an entire transaction. I always pick each row just because if you have multiple classes and you're getting bills that are hitting multiple classes, the last thing you need is to not be able to break those bills out by line. Now, if you don't see that happening, definitely pick one per transaction. Okay, track locations. This is great if you do work in multiple states, have to track taxes from multiple states. What's your location label? Business, department, division, location, property, store, and territory. Okay, I'm going to save now. Automation. So QuickBooks Online has been doing a huge push towards automation, which I think is fabulous. Not to be confused with advisement. Okay, they are automating things here. They are not telling you how to do things. You need an accountant or an advisor to help you figure out how to make sense of your numbers. So make sure that you don't just go, everything's automated, I'm good. Don't do that. Reach out to us or reach out to your accountant or CPA, tax provider, whoever you want to use or whoever your advisory person is, and have someone that you talk to so you can make sense of the numbers in your QuickBooks. Okay. Do you want to automatically invoice unbilled activity? There are moments during these videos you will notice I've been doing this for a long time, and whenever you say automatically invoice anything, it kind of freaks me out because you don't want to double check those numbers. Now, I love automatic invoice reminders. Once I've reviewed it, send it out. Yes. If I haven't received a payment in a few days, I'm going to assume they got busy and forgot, and I want to remind them. Okay, automatically apply bill payments. Yes or no, depending on what you prefer. Save. Project financial tracking on. Okay, time tracking. Do you want to add a service field to timesheets? I have it turned to yes, that's totally fine. And then it says it lets you specify the services performed. We're in professional services, so we have to have a service field to our timesheets. If you didn't have to bill out time, you may not need that. Make single time activity billable to the customer. Yes. Show billing rate to users entering time. Up to you. First day of your work week. Ours is actually Monday, so I'm going to change that. Tracking. And also, I should mention that if you're using T-sheets along with your QuickBooks, that some of those features are going to, or what's the word, preferences will be set up on the T-sheet side of your software. Okay. Currency, you can do multi-currency. You can't turn it off when you turn it on, so I'm not turning it on. Okay, other preferences, and then this is just regular old stuff. Sign me out if inactive for 3 hours is what I have mine set to, but you know, depending on your business, you can set it to whatever. So we've gone through preferences. I have another video where I go through preferences. I kind of like this one better though. So that was my gear. I went through your account and settings. Now you can go into manage users. Okay, this is where you set up your users. With Online Advanced, you have up to 25 users, right? You can manage your usage here. If this would be more of an issue if you had Online Essentials or Plus, you can set up your roles here. You have up to 3 accounting firms that you can invite, okay? Okay, and we went through this in another video. If you have any questions, look for my video on handling user permissions in QuickBooks Online. In QuickBooks Online Advanced, you have role-based permissions, so you have to make sure everyone is set up with a certain role, and then you assign the user to that role. Okay, let me see if I can add a user real quick. Custom role, this is what I'm talking about. This feeds off of that roles tab that was on the other piece. Or standard user, company admin, and then these don't count towards your user limit. Reports only, time tracking only. Okay. Okay, with that being done, let's move on to the next thing, because this is going to be a long video. Custom form styles, I'll click on it real quick. We're not going to go through it. Okay, you can add multiple styles for invoices, estimates, sales receipts. You will notice that they don't have any for sales orders because they don't exist. Chart of accounts here, and this is where your numbers would appear. Okay, you can also show inactive accounts. You can pick how many rows. Here's your pencil if you want to edit them. You can print them. Okay, you can import them if you're setting up for the first time. Use that a lot. Run report. Okay. QuickBooks Labs, this is where their experimental stuff is. I personally have not had a whole lot go wrong. Ooh, and we have dark mode. Kind of scared I'm going to break it and I'm going to have to go back in again. But you know what we're going to do? We're going to try this anyway. Tags, I've already used. They're kind of like classes, but they don't have to balance out. It's more like if you need to mark some stuff as part of a project or something and you just want to do it really informally, then you can go that route. Dashboard, so we've covered this. Let's see, get things done. Here's like a quick shortcut place here. And then themes, I'm not going to go into themes, but we have lists, or your products and services are your item list in desktop. Recurring transactions, memorize transactions. Attachments, that's where you can attach different documents. Typically, I attach it to the transaction level, but if you have like bank statements and things, you can attach it here too. Custom fields, that sounds interesting. Let's go in here. Okay, add a field. You can add these custom fields. You can pick the type of data it is. This is a lot like the one in desktop, but you can't attach it to as much stuff as you can in desktop, okay? But you can see you can attach it to several things, and they're improving this all the time, okay? Okay, manage workflows. This is something exclusive to QuickBooks Online Advanced. I did another video where we used the payment due reminder one, and it's disabled right now. Pay vendor reminder. You have several templates, which I strongly suggest going off of because it helps you to do some, have some quick shortcuts, right? And then here's a history of, when things have been going out. So that's workflows. Let's see if I can create a workflow real quick. So invoice approval is new. And then workflows are all based off of triggers and actions, right? If this, then that. Okay, again, part of the automation thing I was talking about before. Invoice amount is greater or equal to 0. Create task, send notification. So if you need somebody to approve these documents, invoice documents, before they're sent out, I need to tell our controller about this, then this would be a great workflow tool for you. And you could suggest a new template, okay? Okay, so we would reclassify transactions. I want to say that's accountant only. Let's switch to business view. Yeah, you still have reclassified transactions. That's pretty cool. Reclassify transactions. So this actually historically has been something that I've only seen in the accountant version of QuickBooks Online. But if you have a bunch of transactions to the wrong account, you can reclassify those easily by slicing and dicing your financial statements, okay? And you can see change class, change account, apply. Ta-da! Super easy and so helpful. Export data, skip that one, reconcile. We've gone through this before, but let's go ahead and hit get started. Let's do it. Okay, so I'm going to pick my checking account and hit resume. Okay, so this a lot of times will pick up stuff from your online banking, the transactions that are coming in. So part of this may be done for you, and it may even be reconciled when you go in, which would be awesome. If it's not, or if you have manual transactions, you have to do as I am, and you have to select the things that are clearing and try to ignore all the pop-ups or take the 2 seconds it would take me to click the please don't show again button. And then once this difference obviously gets to 0, you're done. Okay, and that's reconciling. Budgeting, you can do budgets. You can do multiple budgets. You can import budgets. See, in CSV. I'm going to add a budget, and one of the cool things that I do on my budgets each year is I base it on the year before. I don't think we have, there we go, actual data, because it gives me my foundational figures. Then I can use my seasonality and different things that I know are going to alter those numbers to update my budget, test budget. Now for me, I don't do budgets and forecasts. I just do budgets because there's only so much analysis I'm going to do for my business. But you can also use the budgets feature as a forecast. Okay, audit log, again, when I was talking about your closing date, if you're somebody that forgot to put a closing date and you've got a little bit of a snafu in your hand, this is where you'll go to figure it out. Go away, Fast Company, love you, but not right now. Backing up the company. So ChronoBooks used to be a standalone application that you could back up QuickBooks Online files to, and I used it, and it was awesome. And they were purchased by QuickBooks last year, maybe the year before. So now that's the backup feature for QuickBooks Online Advanced, and it's awesome. So it handles your backup all for you as long as you get it set up. And then this is going to be for your cases or your tickets and so forth. So that all being said, we've hit on the gear, or I've got some customers who call it the flower, but which I think is cool. But here's our quick create button. It used to be over here. It is now over here. Okay, invoice, receive payment, estimate, credit memo, and so forth. I'm going to hit on some of these, but this is a lot of information, so I'm probably not going to hit on everything. So first I'm going to go through here. You've got this really cool thing called tasks, which is newer. The invoice approval, you can see it feeds into your workflows. Okay, I'm not going to jump into this too much because I have a feeling you're already going to be tired of listening to me talk on this one. Expense, income, and expense tracking. I don't have my bank rules set up yet, but this is where you would do it. And when you have things like Office Depot and things, you can set up custom rules. Okay, to where if Office Depot comes in, it automatically goes to office expenses and so forth. Receipts is, I dare say, my most favorite feature about QuickBooks Online. Okay, this is where you can set up your email to this box, khbdemo@QBODocs.com, or whatever yours is. You get to set up your own. You can manage that account. It will come in here. You can match it to your transactions, and it's so easy. And what I do with my recurring stuff is I have it email my bill or my receipt to my email, and then I set up a rule in Outlook to where if it comes from that account, it sends it to my receipts box, and then I can match it. And I love automation. Thank you, 2020. Yes? Okay. You can also do it via your app, which is great for like the little thermal paper receipts that people still give out. And if you have Google Drive, you can do that. We used to. I love Google, but we are actually in Microsoft Teams. And then if you want to upload it from your computer, you can do that as well. Okay, so with that being said, I'm skipping over to expenses. If you have any questions about any of this, please feel free to leave a comment. So this is kind of a dashboard of your expenses, and I'm going to show you a shortcut I like to do. Okay, it's not really a shortcut. It's more like a way to double check things, right? So what I will do each month is I will run this little dashboard and I will filter it for things with attachments. And it looks like in this sample file, we do not have any. Here, look, we do. And I will look for a number there. And if I don't see a number, I know I need to get my source documentation together. There are accountants out there that will say, well, if you have bank feeds set up, you don't need source documents. I don't know where they went to school, and I'm not going to judge other people. But for me, you need source documents because it may be from wherever, Walmart, whatever. You don't know how much of that is office supplies, or maybe supplies for a banquet, or maybe a customer gift. You need the source documentation. Saying you don't just makes my head spin around backwards. So I like to check at the end of each month to make sure that all of the source documentation has been uploaded. And if it hasn't, then I go back and pull it and attach it. And then around the navigational part we see here, you can click on vendors. Okay, so you have your expenses and vendors. Expenses and vendors. You see how that works? It's awesome. You can prepare your 1099 straight from the screen. I'm also going to show you another place to prepare those for. You can pay bills and order checks. Here's a hint. Contact me and I'll get you a discount on the checks. Moving on. You can import vendors, which is great if you're just setting up the file for the first time. I'm going to pick on one of these guys and we're going to edit this vendor, Abercrombie Fence Co. Also really cool if you have like a slow paying customer. I talk a lot about AR. You can add, slow paying or pay, deposit required, whatever, there in the notes. Here you can also add attachments. So if you have like a W-9 for someone, you can attach it to there. You can have this looks like a custom field somebody set up, I'm pretty sure. Don't ever use opening balances. Any box that says opening balance in QuickBooks Online. It goes to your opening balance equity account. And if you don't know it's there and you don't move it, it is such a pickle. Don't do it. Just don't do it. Don't. No. If you do, ask your accountant to make sure he reviews it or she and gets it moved out. So you have several fields here: billing rates, cost rates, emails, phone numbers. Okay. Account number. What's the business ID? Track their payments for 1099. Default expense account. So you can pick which expense account that it should go to by default. If you no longer work with them, you can make it inactive. See? Lots of features. Okay, I'm going to save. Okay, so that's expenses for the most part. We will get to reporting later, but I'm going to move on to sales now. Okay, sales, again, you have all these things to the left, you have all the things to the top. I love being able to navigate to things in different ways because depending on what kind of a learner you are and what your background is, you may want to it seems silly, but we all have different ways of doing things. So if for some people they like the top navigation and some people like the side, and you can even collapse the side if you want. Speaking of which, hamburger. Okay, so all sales, this is again your dashboard. Invoices, okay, here's your invoice dashboard and your money bar at the top. Money bars are great when it says that you actually got paid. It's awesome. Okay. Customers, money bar at the top, which is just like a quick snapshot of what's going on. What kind of customer types do you have? You can have like in, maybe wholesale or something. Maybe you have wholesale customers, retail customers, and so forth. Whatever your customer types are, you can set up different customer types. You can add your new customers or import customers. A lot of this is a lot like expenses and vendors. Okay. I'm going to pick one and I'm going to pick on them now. Okay, so you can see here that you've got actually projects are turned on with this one. And if you're following your project costing, which we'll dive into in a second, you will see your profit margin. It just popped me over there. Should not have clicked. Biscuits. Okay, I'm back. Okay, mark is completed, canceled. So you have job types in QuickBooks Desktop. Here is mark is completed, canceled, and so forth. One of the things that's interesting about projects is that when you're bringing in transactions, you really want to set the project up before you apply the transaction to it, because it does not let you set up a project on your own in the middle of a transaction. It's kind of a pain to be in the middle of a transaction, boo, 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 boo. Oh, wait, I can't apply it to the project because project's not set up. So make sure you set up your projects before you're entering the accounts. Customer details. Okay, here's your notes, your attachments, your custom fields. Late fees, this would come out of your late fees, but again, because I'm stubborn, I don't use them. I will one day if they watch this video and they listen to me, which they probably will not, but that's okay. Projects. So here's projects. They're super easy. They're just like sub-customers. And it's very easy. Income minus costs equals profit, right? Transactions, time activity, your project reports, okay? You will notice there's not a lot of project reports there yet. You got to remember this program is a work in process. QuickBooks Desktop's been around for umpteen million years. It is a great program. I started out using QuickBooks Desktop. I moved my business to QuickBooks Online in 2014. And even then, it was very basic. And I think actually online's been around since 08 or so, since before then. But I didn't like the fact that it didn't have all the features I wanted, so I waited a while. And now it's a lot better. And it's getting better. Okay, so here's your projects. Now let's go into projects we'll move on from. And payroll. And payroll. Okay, employees, you'd have to set this up. Let me know and we can talk to you about which one's best. Contractors, you can add contractors here. And the coolest thing is, you can email them to set up their own profile. No sending a W-9 form. Please give me back the W-9 form. 2 days later, hey, Bill, you didn't give me back your W-9 form. Okay, you can send them a portal and they set up their own W-9 form in the portal. Awesome, right? Okay, moving on. Just want everyone to recognize how awesome this is. Okay, so you can do 1099s from here as well. Workers' comp just tells you to buy workers' comp, really. Moving on, we've covered contractors, and I think I said earlier, I'll show you where else you can handle contractors. So consider the box ticked. Reporting. Okay, I want to go through that last because it's pretty important. Taxes. Our favorite subject. With QuickBooks Online, you have automatic sales tax calculations, which you did not have before like last year. QuickBooks Desktop does not have automatic sales tax calculations. You would have to use an add-on service like Avalara, which they are awesome. Do not tell me I don't think they're awesome. They are awesome, but if it's included, that's always better. There we go. Said it. So here's our sales tax. And if you had payroll turned on, you would have payroll taxes there too, mileage. If you have the app on your phone, it will track your mileage for you, and you've got to do the swipey thing like you do with MileIQ, which I love MileIQ. I haven't used it in a while, but it's a really good app too. Anyway, you can also add things manually, and you notice that it already has the rate that you are reimbursed for. Da-da-da! Okay, accounting, chart of accounts and reconcile. We already touched on that. My accountant. So if you have us as your accountant or whoever your accountant is, if we see something we need help with, we can send you requests here. Okay, it's a cool little portal. All right, but I'm not going to talk about that a whole lot right now. You can also obviously email them and do the other stuff, but that's another way. Again, back to the whole, some people do things one way, some people do things the other way, Hakuna Matata and all that. Let's move into reports because I want to touch on Fathom before we get done. Okay, with QuickBooks Online Advanced, you do get Fathom. Do not conflate this with advanced reporting for desktop. Now, saying that, I'm not a massive fan of advanced reporting for desktop. It's very difficult to use, especially if you don't have a business intelligence background. Fathom is a lot easier to use. However, it does not do granular reporting. If you're saying I have a very specific, detailed report that I want to pull out, and somebody says Fathom will do it, do away. It won't. Okay. This is KPI-based reporting. These are your ratios, your goals. This is strategic reporting. This is management accounting and reporting. This is not financial, where are my widgets going reporting. Okay. Now, saying that, with Online Advanced and with QuickBooks Online Plus, you get over 65 different types of reports. Okay. So that in itself is more than what you'll get with Essentials, where you'll get 40 plus. Okay, you can star different reports to mark them as a favorite, right? And you can customize different reports to have them pop up here. And I'll show you how to do that. Okay, if I have a report and I want to customize this, I just hit Save Customization, add it to a group. I can share it. I'm going to show you a really cool feature in a minute as well. Okay, here's Performance Center too. Dashboards. You said you like dashboards? Dashboards. Okay, let me, custom reports. Okay, you can schedule these to email you. You know what I do? I have 2 reports that go out to me every Tuesday because I want to give everybody time to get things in for the week before. So every Tuesday morning I wake up and I have my reports that I like to look at to see how my business is doing. They automatically come to my email in a PDF format, so I'm able to review them. Okay. Management reports, they started coming out with a few years ago. I've not seen them do a whole lot with this. And I'm not a huge fan, but they do look pretty. So if you're looking for pretty for your board, that's really nice. Anyway, moving on. I'm holding Fathom for last, so I know you're wondering why I haven't done it yet. Inventory. I will touch on inventory real quick. QuickBooks Online did not handle inventory until very recently. They still don't handle barcode scanning, and I'm sure there's other shortfalls with it currently. But again, back to the work in process thing, we can partner it with a third-party app that nails inventory. I fully expect it to continue to improve. Okay, so looking at our inventory, one of the things that used to be incredibly difficult to do were inventory adjustments, right? Okay, so I'm going to look down here. These are all service items, but I'm going to go down here. The other thing is, if you have heavy assemblies, kits, bill of materials, that you have, this, you're going to have an add-on. In here, they use them as groups. And in my inventory mind, I go, a group is not an assembly. Don't try to call it an assembly. But you know what? I recognize the effort being made, and I know it's going to get there because in enterprise we do assemblies, and I know it will be there one day. And here I've turned on SKUs. You can add pictures, you can add categories, which is cool. You can add your classes, and you can adjust your quantity on hand. Now, it's kind of to me because I'm used to going in and making the inventory adjustment, with a form, but you can change your quantity and go over to the little area, and you kind of have a form here, yeah? And you can change your inventory adjustment account. Now I used to work at specialty food, and waste was a thing I used to track. So there are people that will just write off to shrinkage or whatever. I want to know what was waste and what was damage. Well, I guess in a way they can be the same thing. But maybe if it's like food, maybe I'd be like, how many were just broken in production versus maybe packaging was damaged or da-da-da-da-da. Whatever you need to track, you can set up different accounts and move it to that, okay? So you can do inventory adjustments. It's a lot better than what it used to be, but it's not to the level of QuickBooks Desktop. But again, there are some very good add-ons we can look at. Okay, so don't let that totally dissuade you from this product, because receipts, right? Email receipts, love that. And several other features. Okay, so I think we've touched on reports. We've touched on the Performance Center. We've touched upon, I'm trying to think if I've missed anything. If I've missed anything, let me know and I'll do a video to catch it up. Here's your Performance Center. I love when I'm going into a demo and I'm told the executives love, or anybody really, loves the visuals. They want to see the dashboards. I love the dashboards. Something I can do when I'm drinking my coffee in the morning. So Performance Center, love it. Okay. I want to go over to Fathom. So let's go to Fathom. Okay. Open Smart Reporting powered by Fathom. Now, if this is the first time you're launching Fathom, you have to make sure you have a user ID and things, but this comes partnered with QuickBooks Online Advanced. We are coming up on the end of this video, and I know it's probably one of the longest I've done, but it has so much info in it. Here's where it's tracking your KPIs. You've got your target, your trend, your results, and I'm just going to go through this a little bit so you can see some of the things it's tracking. Okay, you do have help down here. This is a different app after all. It's just bundled together. You have your KPI Explorer. Doo-doo. Now talk about visuals, am I right? Profitability. Okay. Got cash flow. Okay. Perfect. You have growth. Okay. Boo, 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 boo. You have trends. Goal seeking. See, these are like your what ifs. Financials, which you really I just use the ones out of QuickBooks, but still. And up here you have a gear, much like QuickBooks, and you can do your organizational settings and stuff. Up here you have settings. Okay. All right, so there's a whole lot you can do here. Porch. Okay, templates, drafts, scheduled reports, Excel reports, tons of stuff you can do. Let's look at templates. We don't have any shared in this one. Oh, here we go, predefined. You've predefined variants. See, some of these you can get in QuickBooks already, but some of them, when it gets into some of these KPIs, you just don't have that in QuickBooks, like your current ratio, quick ratio. You could do some vertical analysis and stuff, but you don't have all this. And then you've got KPI library and so on. So that being said, I'm going to cut back over. I think I've covered everything. So with QuickBooks Online Advanced, you get your custom user permissions. You have the accelerated invoicing, which I totally did not cover, but I'm not going to do a whole lot with it right now. I will show you real quick. Batch transactions. And there's your other inventory quantity adjustment, and we did not go through some of this stuff. Okay, here we go. Batch transactions, here you go. You can do your transaction type. Okay, invoices, bank deposits, sales receipts, checks, expenses, and bills. You can import. Here's your options. Okay, this is much like your batch enter transactions in QuickBooks Desktop. New invoices, multiple, there we go. I knew it was here. Come on. And then it brings you right back to the same place. New. Make sure we've covered everything else. I'll touch on payroll or time. So here's your time tracking screen, which is great. If you have T-sheets, it actually feeds over from T-sheets, so you'd use it there instead. Your weekly timesheet if you prefer that. Okay. Journal entries are pretty standard. Batch transactions we talked about. This is kind of getting into QuickBooks Cash, which I'll do another video on. You can do your vendor and your credit card credits, your purchase orders. All these are pretty basic forms. Delayed credit and delayed charges all feed to your unbilled charges report. So again, just to recap, we went over an all-encompassing overview of the QuickBooks Online Advanced product. I dread to see how long this will be. You have custom user permissions. You have accelerated invoicing. You have smart reporting with Fathom. You have 25 users versus 5. You have advanced custom fields, which are kind of, but not completely like Desktop. Several things are a lot like, but not completely like Desktop. So if there's certain things that you have in Desktop that you just assume are going to be there in Online, take a moment and make sure you check, okay? But there are things that are a lot better, like the receipts function and other things, okay? With all that being said, you've been hanging in there for quite a while. If you like this video, if you could kindly give me a like. If you have questions or I missed something, leave me a comment. And I think that's it. I think we've knocked this out today. I'll try to make sure I do a table of contents, but thank you for hanging in there with me. And until next time, thank you so much.